Support.
The maestro, please.
End of October, and what would be a spookier song to go over than one that talks about being open about your feelings and being vulnerable? Today we'll be looking at Easy on Me by Adele. Adele Laurie Blue Adkins is a singer straight out of the heart of London in the United Kingdom, and when she came on the scene was a very different sound than everything else being played in the pop industry at the time. Very much known for her emotionally heart-wrenching songs, her first number one was actually her breakout hit, that being Of course, she has some more classic ballads that she's become known for as well, such as
Hello from the other side.
Background.
Easy on Me was released in the middle of October and charted the week after at number 68. However, just a week after that, at the end of October, it has gone all the way to number 1. Easy on Me is the first single of her upcoming album 30, named as such because that's when she started working on it. Same thing for her previous albums 25, 21, and 19. 30 currently has a release date of November 19th. The only other person besides Adele to work on this song, and oddly enough, therefore they're the person who played all the instruments on it, would be Greg Kurstin. Greg Kurstin has been in the pop music industry for quite some time and has numerous hits that he's worked on over the years. The biggest, though, both of which got to number 1, are
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm
and
Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight.
Easy on Me is released solely by Columbia.
Form.
Easy on Me is a pop ballad, is around 3 minutes 45 seconds long in F major and is just over 70 beats per minute. After the short piano intro, Adele gives us the first verse,
There ain't no gold.
followed by the first chorus.
So easy on me, baby.
We then move on to the second verse,
You can't deny how hard I've tried.
second chorus,
I was still a child, didn't get the chance to.
then a bridge,
I had good intentions.
and a final and third chorus,
Feel the world around me.
which ultimately ends the song.
Piano.
The piano is the most prominent instrument we hear throughout the song and is the first thing we hear, period. Basically following a similar bass line of going F, D, A, B flat. However, the chord progression when you add in the right hand and account for all the notes ends up being something more along the lines of F major, D minor 7, F major over A, and B flat major. As we actually get into the song proper, there are slight variations on this that the piano makes throughout the song. However, that same chord progression, F major, D minor 7, F major over A, and B flat major, at least for the verses, is pretty much the same, minus that C major at the end to turn it back around. We don't really get any major changes to that until the end of the first verse with this extension that's added on, opening up with an F major over C chord before going to a B flat sus2 chord, which then adds the 7th before finally ending it off somewhat similarly to what we've had before. The second extension that's done at the end of the second verse, however, is a bit different. Obviously, it's a whole bar shorter, so we don't get that add 7 that we did before. In the chorus, we get a significant change, both in terms of what's being played and just the overall harmonic rhythm. Now we have an F major going to a C major through a D minor 7, which goes to a G minor 7 through an F major over A. That G minor 7 goes to that B flat major through again an F major over A on a weak beat, before ending with a B flat sus2 chord on the end. That same progression then repeats, minus a couple of changes in what the actual piano is playing. However, that B flat sus2 is now held as opposed to played in 2 quarter notes.
Bass guitar.
The only other instrument we really have in the song, I guess besides the kick drum. Regardless, it opens up on that low F before going all the way up to the D, dropping to the C, quickly hitting that A before going to G, quickly going back up to that A to get to the next B flat, which it then repeats on a half note, quarter note, and then 2 eighth notes. Once we get to the next section after the chorus that the bass guitar is introduced in, it gets a bit more complex in terms of its rhythms, even jumping up octaves, but basically it's still just playing F, D, G, B flat. As the second verse continues, it still does do those syncopated rhythms, but has these lovely 3-note approaches that it does as it goes to each note. This time, however, it's focused more around going from F to D, down to C, down to B flat, before going all the way up the octave to the higher B flat at the end. As we move even further in the song, though, the bass guitar starts to do just these eighth note rhythms, starting on that F, creeping its way up to D, dropping to A, and finally going back to some sort of syncopation on that B flat at the end. The last unique passage we get from the bass guitar is actually in the final section of the song, playing that very low C, and then dropping even 1 note lower to that low B flat, both of those being syncopated, before staying on that B flat in the 8th note rhythms and creeping back up to that C to bring us back around to the actual final part of the song.
Verse.
Adele very much sets the stage for what her vocals are going to be like, heavily melismatic and very syncopated. However, we open up very low in her register, lowest note being that middle C, but never going above the F.
There ain't no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever.
As we continue through her first verse, though, she actually goes as high as that A and that B flat at the end in the middle of the staff. Also notice how heavily and relentlessly syncopated the back half of this phrase really is.
I know there is hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I am drowning in this silence, baby, let me in.
Her second verse starts off similarly to her first verse. It's still very syncopated, it's still heavily melismatic, but we hit that A a lot earlier than we did before.
There ain't no
As we wrap up her second verse though, it still is somewhat similar to before. However, the extension she does on the end here is actually a whole measure shorter than it was in the previous verse.
You can't deny how hard I've tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I give up.
Chorus.
The chorus opens with this huge and long melisma on easy, starting off on C and working its way down to G. Besides that, still being heavily syncopated, it's actually quite spaced out, and the rest of her melodic range, minus the melisma, is just C to A.
Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to.
The following phrase in the first chorus is actually very similar to the first. In fact, the word feel has the exact same melisma as the syllable E in easy. However, she does add this extension on at the very end.
Feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me.
The second chorus, as one would expect, is actually quite similar to the first, but there are slight changes. Notice on the word child, that F is now hold, and on the word to, it doesn't end on that C, but bends back up to the D it started on.
Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to.
The following phrase in the second chorus is quite similar to the one in the first chorus, the only major difference being that the word choose is now held on an F.
Feel the world around me. Had no time to choose what I chose to do.
That, and there's a huge difference on the extension in the second chorus, starting off on that low C, then holding this huge, nearly 2-bar melisma on the syllable E in easy, going back and forth between B flat and A before finally ending it.
So go easy on me.
The final chorus starts off similarly enough to all of the others. Everything is pretty much the same except on the word to, that C, instead of going up to the D, now goes all the way up to the F.
Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, I didn't get the chance to.
But our largest departure in the chorus is at the end of the final chorus. The melisma on feel is entirely different, actually going all the way up to the F at the top of the staff. And obviously, the rhythms on Feel the World Around Me are significantly different than what we've heard before. And the extension is unique as well.
Feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me.
Bridge.
The bridge starts us off extremely high in her register on that high D. In fact, we only go below the F on the staff twice, the end of the melisma on now and the very quick 16th on the word it. This is also where we get the most varied rhythms, as she's just belting her heart out before bringing us into the final chorus.
I had good intentions and the highest hopes, but I know right now that probably doesn't even show.
Adele certainly has a sound that stands out, especially in this era of overproduced pop music. The way she sings and the music she puts out really stands out in terms of like authenticity and almost this sense of genuineness and honestly emotional rawness. She's not even really auto-tuned like you hear in a lot of different other artists, which give her voice stylings this unique aspect to them. Because of that, all of her pitches aren't exactly perfect. Again, there's no auto-tune on here. So yes, some of the notes that I am hearing from her might not exactly be accurate, but you know, I'm trying my best, so
Go easy
Adele has very much become synonymous with just sad ballads, and in fact, looking at through her discography, it almost seems like the happier the song is, the worse it charts. I mean, this one is a #1 hit, and it's about her divorce.
Feel